Welcome this week in Missouri Politics from the Missouri State Fair in Sedalia. We are joined by the 57th governor of the great state of Missouri, Governor Parson. Welcome back to the show.
All right, Scott, good to see you. Great to be here at the State Fair with you.
The first thing we have to do before we even talk about the fair is you got to show the viewers the tattoo. Everybody's talking about.
All right, you got it.
All right, the question of the day, is it a real tattoo?
It's the real deal. It's the real deal.
Now, how did you get the idea, and how did you talk Teresa into it, and what would your mama think right now?
There's lots of moving parts to it. Let me start off with that. It wasn't just that simple. Years ago when I was in the Army, I wanted one, and I just never got it. And my granddaughter drew it up for me one time, and being the 57th governor, winning the 57th Super Bowl, just a love for my state and the people of this state. And the lightning bolt, it seems like that's what my life's been the last 6 years. It's just like nonstop. So a little kickback to Elvis Presley there.
Well, tell me about the fair. This is your home stomping grounds. I always feel it's kind of your inauguration back in the day, being here at the fair. It's such a special place for Missourians.
The State Fair is just part of who we are in this state, and it's been a long time. People been coming here for years and years. It's just part of who we are. And one of the things you just always are, people are in a good mood when you come to the State Fair. It's a great event. You get to showcase our livestock, our crops, our machinery, shows and everything. It's just a good come together like farm people, like people across this state are. It's good neighbors, nice times, people trying to be friendly to one another, and then just enjoying a good time and really showcasing who we are in this state.
It's a showcase of rural Missouri. Let's talk about something that's going to connect urban Missouri and rural Missouri. Is there a bigger thing you could have done in this state than rebuild I-70?
I don't think there's any question to that. I-70 will be a legacy that'll live on for years and years to come, decades to come. And I think just getting that done will be something we'll be very proud of. And it's really going to make a difference, not only just for the extra lane or having the extra lanes in there, but the safety of it, the economics of it. All the things that are going to come along with that is going to be a win. I'm going to say probably I-70, getting that done, and broadband, because we're here at the State Fair, how significant that will be in time, just trying to get everybody hooked up to quality internet.
When you got elected to the State House, they were talking about I-70 needing to be rebuilt. Did you ever really think during your time in government you'd ever be able to do it like this?
I never did think it would happen. I'd been through the legislative and the House and the Senate, but all of a sudden you become governor, almost overnight, which it did happen. Yeah. And all of a sudden you realize maybe there is a possible way to put something together. And, we've been through some very difficult times, but we've also been through some good times. And really, when you have an opportunity to put the state in a financial shape it's in, it's when you got to make investments like that are long-term, and are just good for everyday people.
Let's talk about some of the bill signings you've done. People talk about legislature didn't pass a lot of bills, but it seemed like they covered quite a bit of ground. What's going to be an impact on a regular person swinging the hammer today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing you do is you continue to build up on the workforce. Yeah, I think for a workforce, you talk about daycare was a major issue that come out this year that I think we all face that. All of us that have kids and grandkids, daycare is just a big issue in this state. Trying to start to move the needle on that to make that better. I think getting these high school kids to understand it's not all about going to college. It's about going into the workforce so you get the training you need, I think is huge. And then the infrastructure piece is just, right now we're just knocking it out of the park in Missouri as far as when you look at river ports, you look at airports, you look at rail, and you look at highway systems. We will change the dynamics in Missouri for many decades to come.
I saw your office put out something about the state budget. Folks have, there's a lot of ARPA money came through. The state's been doing all right, but there's not an $8 billion pot of money laying around. More like $3 billion, and with the revenues going down, are you comfortable about where the state budget's going to be the next year and a half?
Well, I think you got to be concerned about it. It's a false pretense when people think you've got $8 billion because we don't. Matter of fact, of that $8 billion, $5 billion's already been committed. So you just take that off the table right away. Now you're down to $3 billion. So the legislative budget this year was $1.7 billion over that. So now you're down to less than $2 billion. So we just got to be smart about it. We've been very fortunate. Unemployment rate's low in our state, lowest it's ever been. Revenues are up. We just got to make sure we can pass this on down to the future and just don't overspend. But again, we just got to be smart about it.
You're going to cut taxes. People can talk about it however they want in fantasy land. At some point, you got to tighten that belt, right?
Well, you're always going to have a tax base here, but I think the important people need to understand we've cut income taxes 3 times since I've been governor. That's not happened. The largest income tax cut last year that we done. But here's what I know about that. When you put money in Missourians' pockets, they're going to drive the economy, not government, and they spend that money. You just got to be smart about how you're doing, and it was very successful for us doing that.
Do you ever worry, though, maybe that one of them cuts was one cut too far, and somebody's going to be dealing with a deficit down the road?
Well, I don't think there's any question. You're going into a political year, everybody's going to want to be able to say, I want to introduce a bill to cut taxes, or I introduced a bill to do this or that politically. You got to take the political side of it and see what the practical side of it is. Because the truth is, you still got to run the state, and you got to have the ability to do the things you do. And when you talk about some of the things, workforce development, infrastructure, mental health, daycare, education, you got to pay for those things. And you just got to be smart about it.
The Republican Party is a little bit different party. I saw Kit Bond here today. What an amazing Missouri. The two of you together, my God, think of the difference that, Mark, you left on this state between both of you. Do you worry, though? Is the party becoming more suburban? I tell you what, let me ask you a question. Yeah, somebody from Newton County here at the fair today, their rural way of life, it's under assault, there's no question.
Yeah.
Should they be more worried about a suburban Republican or an urban Democrat?
I think what you got to understand is people in the political arena that are going to be bound for a political office, it's not a difference between urban and rural. It's got to be somebody that can see both sides of that. So if you get somebody that has no experience in rural Missouri and they don't know anything about agriculture, for example, that's not going to work in our state. I mean, you look at the Kit Bonds that you just mentioned, his legacy of what he started from a farm and what he's done, that fundamental values that they've learned. The one thing I've been so fortunate about, Scott, is I've been able to be born and raised on a farm and understand what that real rural life has been like, starting with nothing. But I also have been to the cities and understand how important their impact is too. But you've got to understand both issues, and it's just in proven fact, it's very difficult to
find. Now, you won't be here to protect that guy from Newton County. Kit won't be here to protect him. Will the state of Missouri elect somebody to replace you that does know agriculture?
I'll tell you what I hope the people of Missouri understands is what we've done over the last 6 years, what we've done, how hard we've worked to really make this state a top-tier state in the United States. And for me personally, I want somebody that understands what we've done, and I want to continue that legacy because I know it's a winning foundation for our state. It works. If you believe in cutting taxes, and if you believe in putting people in the workforce, and you believe about taking Missourians first, it's a successful formula. I just need somebody to make sure they follow that and continue to move our state forward.
You got a busy calendar for the fall. You probably see, it looks like a quiet veto session. You have 2 Supreme Court picks. Right now, there's a Supreme Court that sets and governs Sedalia, Pineville, Poplar Bluff. The southernmost judge is from Jeff City. Does the Missouri plan work if they don't give you a qualified person from the southern part of this state?
Yeah, well, you know what? So far, things have went pretty well in the way they've done things. So we'll make that judgment here when I get to see this first pick they're going to send me. But I really think that they're going to understand the significance of putting good people on there. I hope, and I mean, I've sent a pretty clear message. I don't care about politics. I want a judge that would go in there and do the right thing, not an agenda. But we'll see.
In your opinion, it does kind of help well-round things to have somebody from the southern half of the state, even if it's just going to be one seat. They have a perspective that maybe you don't have in the cities or North Missouri. I think it might be nice to have somebody that does have some of the views of growing up in southern Missouri that's a little different than other parts of the state.
Well, let me just say this right off. I mean, I was born and raised in southwest Missouri, so yeah, I would love to have somebody from the southwest Missouri to be the next Supreme Court pick. I'll just say that openly. But I still got to make sure what does that panel look like and who's the most qualified person. But southwest Missouri hasn't anybody on the Supreme Court for like 29 years, almost 3 decades. So yeah, if I have that opportunity and both of them being equal, sure, I would take that home pick.
How's the farm doing? There's been some dry spells out in western part of the state.
Yeah.
To the middle part. How's your farm doing?
You know what? It's tough. I mean, we went through a drought. We had about 34% of the hay crop that we normally have, which means less grass in the fall, less hay in the winter. So I think the most important people have to understand this drought is not over just because it rains.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lingering effect for a long time. But you know, the thing about it is it affects me like it does everybody else. And I guess that gives me a pretty good advantage to know how other Missourians feel and what we can do to help farmers. So we're working on that every day. And, you know, it's just challenging time. Just what we do as farmers.
Well, you got time to stick around with us? We're going to bring Mike Deering in, see if we can get an opinion out of him.
That's kind of dangerous if you're going to bring Mike Deering in here, but I'll take my chances with him.
We'll be right back this week in Missouri Politics from the State Fair. But first, go to showmissouri.com. This week I sat down with Matt Blunt, I think the 54th governor of the state of Missouri, talked about the early parts of his career. Interesting perspective on a guy who was there when a lot of change happened. ShowMissouri.com. This is Missouri, one county at a time. This time, one state at a time. We'll be right back after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
Thanks for joining us. Justice and Journalism with Judge Mike Carter. What I like to do is bring facts and circumstances from around the metro area with some local politicos, charitable causes, and let you decide for yourself if you like what's going on.
I'm in this for public service.
400 qualified jurors in some of the rural counties are actually really hard to find.
When you're talking about low-level nonviolent offenders, when you put them in jail, you increase the likelihood that they turn into a serious offender.
Justice and Journalism with me, Judge Mike Carter.
Starting with just $300 to his name, Vivek Malik has never stopped working and has risen to become Missouri's state treasurer. Vivek Malik never forgets our duty to keep the American dream alive.
This is the greatest country in the world. There's a lot that divides us, but the one thing that unites us all is our love for this great country.
Vivek Malik, treasuring what we hold most dear.
Reach your audience with Outreach Studios. Studio 17 offers 1,000 square feet of customizable space that can accommodate roundtable discussions, podcasts, live stream content, and much more. For a different look, we offer View 17. This one-of-a-kind event center is fully wired for broadcast and is perfect for corporate or commercial content. With Outreach Studios, the opportunities are endless. Elevate your message, your brand, and your expectations with Outreach Studios.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren, Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back to Speaking Missouri Politics from the State Fair in Sedalia. We are at the Cattlemen's building right now here on the fairgrounds, hosted by Mike Deering with the Missouri Cattle Association. Mike, thank you for the hospitality. Absolutely. Caleb Jones, quick as a cat from the Missouri Association of Electric Co-ops. Welcome in. Glad to be here. Governor, thanks for sticking around.
I'm glad to be here. Great family out here.
The director of the Missouri Department of Agriculture, Chris Chinn, thank you for making the time. Our pleasure. Tell us about the fair. This seems like this fair, it builds every year. Today, the weather has been perfect.
We've had a great fair. The weather has been excellent. We saw record numbers out here Saturday on the fairgrounds. Monday was another big day. We had one day of rain, but our farmers were happy about that. We needed that rain. So it's just been a really great atmosphere this year at the fairgrounds.
They're going to add to the fairgrounds, right? A little bit of money came through. What's going to happen? What's going to be different next year at the fair?
Well, we're going to start putting in more camping spots because we're out already. So hopefully we'll have 600 new camping spots next year. Maybe not all of them will be done, but we're hoping some of them will be done. We're also going to have a new arena in the future. Now, we're not sure. We know it won't be done next year, but you'll start to see some progress.
If only you knew a guy who had access to a lot of money to build something like that, like a governor or something, you know. Governor, is there anything the legislature could do better than to get that done?
Yeah, well, it'd be a great deal for us. You know, I mean, we did the pavilion a few years ago. I just want to add that spin. To have a new arena up here, it's just going to be big for the state fair. And a lot of the other improvements we're going to be doing up here. And as Chris says, the state fair is just growing and growing. Yeah. And we're getting to be a leader in the United States right now with our fairgrounds that are here. We just got to make sure we keep up with the times. The more events we get here, the better it is. So it's going to be a good time. Fortunately, we've been in financing in good shape to be able to build some buildings and make this to showcase all of this thing.
Like during the fair is a special place. Absolutely. How many states do you serve during the state fair?
Oh, thousands. I don't even know. I think last year we were at 3,500 states, so.
Nice. It is a special place. It's kind of like the celebration of all rural Missouri when you come to the fair every year.
It is a celebration, and we have the youth exhibitors and the families come out here and work hard on their livestock projects, and that's one thing about being in Sedalia, unlike Des Moines, where we've really been able to focus on ag. This is an ag fair. And even when we didn't have a fair, we had a governor that said we're going to maintain the youth portion of that. And so it's been great.
You're a Central Missouri guy. I mean, how many of these things have you been to?
All of them.
Yes. Have you missed one?
And, you know, I've been at the state fair, whether I was showing an exhibitor or as an attendee, probably since I was 6 or 7. You know, I've been going to the governor's ham breakfast that we had this morning. We used to put on our FFA or 4-H shirts to try to get in free when we were kids, and usually the guy would let us in. So I like to joke, I've been going to the ham breakfast a lot longer than most because I started whenever I was about 5.
Well, I mean, honestly, a lot of this day went all right, but most days it's 110 degrees. That FFA jacket, that's a high price to pay. Wearing that all day to get in free.
Cost of a free meal.
So you've been so many times. I mean, heat doesn't stop you, flooding, cat attack, nothing stopped you from making it, huh?
It's going to take quite a bit to keep me from coming to the state fair, Scott.
When we talk about agriculture, though, I mean, folks are going through a drought. It is tough. Tell folks overall how's that drought affecting? Where is it worse at, and how's the state of agriculture?
You know, this drought has impacted every county in the state. It was really bad in central Missouri and up to the northeast portion of our state. We've seen some rain, so you're welcome, but the drought's not over. You know, just because we get a couple rains, our problems are still very real. We need our pastures to have a lot more rain to get us into the fall so we can save stuff in the May that we have. We started beef hay in many counties in the state in June, which is unheard of. And we need to get that subsoil moisture level up for our row crop farmers for next spring as well.
Like, Deering, how's that affecting folks trying to put hay in the barn?
Oh, it's been devastating. It's been a rough go. And, you know, I appreciate the department and the governor for coming out and saying, hey, this isn't over. You know, we've had administrations before that, oh, it rained, the drought's over. No, we've still got a long road ahead of us. We've had mass liquidation of cow herd. I mean, we're going to go down significantly.
That was Montauk County.
Look, I'll tell you, folks across all the rural electric co-op systems struggling right now. You're looking at people trying to ship hay up from southern states. You're looking at people just trying to figure out a way to get second cuttings, even if it's half a bale an acre. They're doing anything they can to make sure their cattle get bedded. Just like Mike said, we're starting to see a lot of folks have to take them to the sale barn.
I mean, with a lot of row crops, the co-op comes in, you can put a well in and water your field, but that doesn't work for hay, and that's not real.
That's right.
I don't know. Look, well, every time you're on, I talk about rural broadband. Really, every time he's on, but I was waiting because you was coming in. We've heard a lot of talk. A lot of money's been allocated. Our folks what is the time to start getting people connected?
So putting in, you know, whenever we put in electric in the 1930s, it took a while.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're a little bit more advanced than we were. We're starting to see a lot of our co-ops install broadband in conjunction with the electric line, so we're able to do it a little bit faster. Still, it's a long process. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this, and you want to make sure that it's done right.
Yep.
So as much as I'd like to wave a magic wand and have this done, the reality is we're looking at years. Hopefully not a lot of years, but 3 to 5 years, I think, before we see real build out. Thankfully,
that electric wire can sway a little bit. Then that broadband wire, it can't move much, right?
They're very different in their ability to stretch. You look at ice storms and how that affects them. Definitely different products, so they're treated differently. We just had SEMO Electric, I think, sign up their 9,000 customer. United Electric just signed up their 30th thousand. So we've got co-ops out there working hard. We've also got a lot of co-ops that are partnering with other fiber providers to try to get it out. You know, we don't care who puts it out there as long as it gets out to our rural members. And that's something I know everybody here has been strong supporters of, and we appreciate.
You've been shaking the trees on that since you became governor.
I don't think there's any question, Scott. Probably when this administration's over, there's going to be two real factors. I mean, we did a lot of things for the workforce infrastructure, but I-70, rebuilding I-70 will have probably one of the largest impacts on our state along with broadband. And as Caleb said, you know, look, we just got to make that a mission since I've been there. We just got to get it done. And I think you should have the broadband in every home, internet at every home in the state. As easy it is to flip a line on for electricity, you ought to be able to flip broadband on. And we're going to put all the resources we can to get that done. And I agree with Caleb, it's going to take a little bit to get there time-wise, but I'm telling you, I firmly believe we will get that done, and hopefully the next 5 years.
Is there anything bigger you could really do for rural Missouri than run rural broadband?
Now, you know, our young people, when they go off to college and they get used to having that fast internet at their fingertips, it's really hard to attract them back home to our rural community. And we've been exporting our youngest and our brightest out of the rural areas for decades, and it's time that we get this broadband back home in our rural areas to bring our kids back home.
Like Derek, it matters no matter what you're going to do. Almost every technological innovation has drove folks to the cities. Rural broadband's a thing that can let you move back home, go to a good school, good place to live, bigger house. But you got to have rural broadband or you can't do it. You can't make any money at that place to live there.
Yeah, there's no question, but I agree with the governor and Caleb. We're going to get there, and we're going to make this top priority. So,
speaking of, the Republican Party's changing a little bit. Right now, your rural way of life. I asked the governor earlier, are you more threatened by a suburban Republican or an urban Democrat?
Suburban Republican.
No.
It is hard. How do you explain to a suburban Republican who doesn't know there's an herbicide and a pesticide? Their idea of a good time is like driving their Prius to Starbucks. How do you explain rural Missouri to them?
I think the best way to explain it is to bring them out to a farm and let them talk with the farm family and learn firsthand. Having that hands-on experience, you cannot replace that.
Or the state fair, right?
The state fair is another great opportunity.
You get a chance to be able to come here and you don't like here, well, you're not safe, right?
So whether Republican or Democrat, I don't think it matters all that much. But in the urban areas where you see hunger and you connect those dots very easily. Director Chinn and I have talked to, urban Democrats this week. And once you kind of make those connections, they get it because they see their people hungry and they know that we have the solution and we have to work together. In suburban areas, you don't have that.
Jones, when you're in the legislature, you're always packed with people. There are packed people from really all over the state. When you were trying to describe life in Montauk County to somebody in Lee Summit, how do you do that? How do you go about that?
You talk about whether it's an urban Democrat or suburban Republican. I think the real concern for me is just uneducated legislators.
Yeah.
I did have a lot of folks in my office whenever I was in the legislature, but even now with the rural electric co-ops, I feel like our job as folks in and involved around agriculture is to educate those people that don't know where a state came from. And it's as much as it's their problem that affects us, it's our problem to help change and educate them.
Yeah. Not really a Republican or Democrat issue.
Well, this week in Missouri politics, everything kind of. I asked the governor earlier, what's something they could do to help rural Missouri? Right now, talking about rural Missouri, what could be done to help folks in rural Missouri, just make it a little easier for them?
I think a lot of the administration is our rural roads and bridges have seen the upgrades. That's very important for our farming and ranching community to get their products to markets to have safe roads to travel on. The broadband, that's been a huge issue for our rural communities, trying to keep us connected to our urban cousins. Those are two top priorities. And just making sure that we have jobs in our rural communities to help support the families that do come back out to the rural communities.
What's the top thing with the co-ops that could be done by state?
The top thing for rural electric co-ops is being done by the state. We actually have a governor that listens to us, and he's a rural electric co-op member. So he, above all, gets it. We really, more than anything, just need people to actually understand that we're member-owned and member-governed, and we don't make the decisions. The folks that own us at the end of the line are the ones making those decisions.
And we're fresh off of all the annual meetings, right? This is annual meeting season in Missouri.
It is.
If you don't know what an annual meeting is, you live in a city, right?
Well, I would urge anybody that wants to learn a little bit about how electricity comes to rural Missouri to come to a co-op annual meeting.
You know you live in a co-op if your refrigerator is full of the magnets and everything, right? That's how you know. Like, Gary, what could happen in the last year of the Parson administration to help cattle farmers?
Oh boy, what could happen? Well, right now, private property rights on eminent domains, making sure that we do not have a pervasive invasion of their rights. I think working on the Public Service Commission and eminent domain issues will go miles for us.
Well, I guess you got your list, right?
Well, I think the guy's excellent, but I think it's something important when you talk about trying to educate other people about a rural way of life. Really what it comes down to is you got to make sure people don't overregulate us. They really don't understand what it is we do. The environment, as I said this morning, nobody takes any better care of the land than farmers or ranchers. You got to make a living out of it. And, God's not going to make any more land. For what we got taken care of. And I think farmers know that best of all. And I think when a lot of these, groups come in, the Special Interest Group, HSUS, people like this, that try to take away that way a lot, and they don't even understand it. So going back to what we've all said, people to understand what it is we do is all of our responsibilities. here today. Yours, ours. You make sure you understand why food is so important, where it comes from, and what it is we do to sacrifice for everybody else.
Oh, with a minute left, Mike Deering, who won the week?
Oh, undoubtedly Mark Wolf, director of the State Fair. He's done a great job. This is the last year, and he just knocked out of the park. Outstanding job.
Who won the week?
I'd say all the State Fair exhibitors. Great weather this year. Had a great time to show. Not too hot. So,
who won the week?
My director standing right here beside. She knocked it out of the ballpark this week. I mean, one of the biggest state fairs we've ever had. 21,000 exhibits in the State Fair. So, man, I got to give it to my director.
Who won the week?
I think it was the governor because he ordered the nice weather.
Well, great job. No, I agree. I was all prepared to say the tattoo artist. Then I was going to make a cat joke. But I think I got to say, Kit Bond came to the State Fair.
Yeah.
One of the greatest Missourians in the state's history. What a great statesman and a great man. We hope you'll join us next week from the great Northwest with Senator Eric Schmidt on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, and the United Electric Cooperative.
I'm a history buff, like I know a lot of you are if you watch the show. We're doing a thing of the history of Missouri. We're going to do it one county at a time. We call it Show Me Missouri. We're going to travel to all 114 counties of the state. We'll have a member of the Farm Bureau, county elected officials, some of your state legislators you see here on the show. We're going to talk about the history, what's happening now in the county, and how the two are interconnected. It's a passion project of mine. If you like history, I hope you'll get involved. Follow us. Go to MissouriTimes.com. You can see it. We'll probably branch it off into its own social media at some point. But you've been so good to us at the Missouri Times, the show, different papers. This is a passion project that I hope you'll enjoy. It's called Show Me Missouri. The history of Missouri, one county at a time. The first county was Polk County. We had a great time. And we hope you'll go to MissouriTimes.com, find a little bit about it. And if you like the history of the state, I hope you'll enjoy it.